from the Fort Walton Beach City Council. We're talking today because a week from today, the city of Valparaiso, city of Fort Walton Beach is going to have several ballot measures. We want to talk a little bit about them today. We're going to talk about a court case in which the judge apparently has given a ruling. I haven't been able to get my hands on that ruling yet, but when I do, you'll be the next people to see it. But Councilman Merrell, you've talked to several people involved with this case that was an attempt to, I guess, get some stuff either thrown off of the ballot for this coming referendum. Can you talk a little bit about what you know and what happened on Friday?
Yeah, I'm happy to start with that. And I want to preface, obviously, this is a legal proceeding that's still happening. So everything that I'm talking about is my opinion from the information that I have from that meeting. First and foremost, we want everybody to know that the election is still on. I don't believe there's actually been a final ruling. What we're looking at is an injunction on ballot questions 2, 3, 4, and 6. This is, again, my opinion. This is not based on the premise. There's no, they're trying to put these things on the ballot and go against the voter will, and that would not be something the judge ruled on. Most of what he's upset about, from my understanding, most of what the judge's problem is the wording. As we go to change amendments, a lot of those questions 2, 3, and 4, very administerial, old language, clean it up. The issue is we group some of them together, and you only have 75 words on a ballot question. And so when we say, hey, we want to clean up language and get rid of repetitive language in this, and this, we're not describing what all those things are. And that's where you get the terms, like you see the quotations from some people online, like hide the ball and things like that. So I believe those were quotes from the judge, but it wasn't to mislead the voters. It's that those amendments and those things that they're voting on need to be more clear on what they're getting. And I don't disagree with that. I'm not the legal type. I don't have that background. So now that that's been described, I'm saying, yeah, let's get some clarity on those. And that injunction on those questions doesn't mean that he will strike them from the ballot. He's just asking for more time so that he can be familiar, and then that decision will be made after the election.
Okay, so basically, yeah, like you just said, the referendum is going to come up here March the 10th, and the judge has not said these are getting thrown out, these are going away. Everybody still votes, but there might be discussions going down the way as to whether or not some of these ballot language issues that he has are big enough to where they say, hey, this one doesn't count.
So he could strike any one of those, and it would be based on the wording. So what would happen if he struck any one of those? They would go back and then be reworded and put on another referendum to go back out to vote. It wouldn't be there's nothing with the premise. Let's go to ballot question 2. Thanks for pulling that up. Shall sections 3, 4, 5, 7, and 25 of the city charter be amended for purposes of clarifying the nonpartisan nature of council seats? And it goes on. What does 3, 4, 5, 7, and 25 say now? We don't know. So I get it. So I get where the judge is saying, hey, I want some clarity. The clarity I want to put out to people: go out and vote. He's going to look into those further, and I want to clear the air on any, hey, the premise of these, because you're trying to change the will of the voters, is why there's an injunction. That is not the case to my understanding at all. If it was, ballot question 5 would also be included in that injunction, because that was something that was voted on in November. So that should tell you right there. Ballot question 1 and 5 will move forward. Ballot questions 2, 3, 4, and 6, the information on the vote will be delayed until the judge makes a final ruling.
Okay, so ultimately, though, everybody still needs to go and say their piece on their ballot next week in order to make something in order to ensure that the will of the people comes out there. I am interested in the outdated language and to enhance efficiency of city operations. People like your colleague Payne Walker have come out and said, "Hey, this is to, I guess, implant firmly the city police department in the charter." Do you take umbrage with any of the things that he said? I mean, he's had a busy weekend on social media. Do you take umbrage with any of the ways that he's characterizing the way that these ballots are going to or these votes are going to change the way the city operates?
The issue I take with what's been said out there is that any of this is based on the premise. I would say if you had my intent with these questions was to clean up the language, to bring from outdated language. I believe question 4 it was brought to our attention that it did provide a little bit more security for the police officers. Because there's been this talk of consolidation. And when that was brought up, I think the vote was the majority to put this on. As from my understanding from talking to people, nobody wants to see I won't say nobody. The majority of people that comment on it don't want to see our police consolidated or, put out to bid with the county, some sort of thing. So my goal with that one was to provide that security and backing that we want our police force here in Fort Walton Beach. And my main goal with all of these is to be very clear and get the truth out to people on what they're voting on. I'm not trying to say you can't vote one way or another, or that you should only vote this way. If you want to see consolidated services and things like that, you could vote no on question 6. But what I want people to know is what it actually is leading to and what it's not.
Got it. And so to that end, with question number 6, with the I guess the general philosophy of governance in the city of Fort Walton Beach, the 3% thing is the thing that everybody talks about the most. The 3% budget cap, increase of budget cap. What has that done to city operations over the last? I guess it's been the last year that they've had this 3% budget cap. Has it even been implemented yet?
It's been implemented, and they are working on this budget. So they had to take the numbers from the previous fiscal year, and now they're operating at CPI or 3%, whatever's less. Okay. I have, if you let me turn to my notes, because there's a lot to this. So CPI right now is 2.51%. So that's actually what the city is trying to stay under. And there's a challenge, right, because it fluctuates as well. I've asked our city manager, what does this look like? What do we need to plan for if this isn't repealed? And he said, right now, we're just kind of going through things and looking at different services or events or projects to not do. Some of that is because it's not in the budget. Some of that is because they need to wait and maybe not do something that you could cancel. And then we might have the budget later, which causes its own problems. But so far, a couple of the things that he's began to do is cancel the fire outreach program. The fire department would do an event where they show how they work, what they do. They'd let the kids in the fire trucks. They light a small structure on fire and show like a fire suppression system at work. We have a bunch of money in a tree mitigation fund. That comes out of the operating account, so we're not going to do anything with the trees, even though there's money there. There's going to be a cap on youth sports. If they budget for 200 kids to sign up and 210 kids sign up, there's just not the money for. We'll have to say maybe there's an option in Shalimar, or maybe there's an option, and these are real things. I'm not playing to people's emotions. The golf course does a vendor fit in. It usually brings in, I think they said about $19,000. They're canceling that. So we're canceling things that bring in money. The golf course is on its way to being an enterprise fund. And so just these restrictions, and that's just the first phase of this happening. I think that we'll see these issues compound, and that's where they say we're saying the sky is falling, but ultimately we're going to see services cut. And in the long run, I mean, I've looked at it. I don't see how we don't see some positions cut. And I think that's a goal. behind some of this, right? Because we talk, oh, there's 292 full-time employees 10 years ago, and now there's 320. Why is that an issue unless we're going to go after that, right? Are they mad that that's that, or do we want to go after that? They're not talking about services added. They're not talking about the community coming out to previous councils and saying, hey, we don't have crossing guards at the school, or we want to beef up some sort of, we've had to bring in code enforcement officers, or we want officers doing a policing of the downtown and the landing. So these things that the community's asked for do take a growth in full-time employees. When you add services, you add employees. I believe that ultimately the people that push the 3% cap want to see not just some sort of control in spending, because you don't even get that with that, but they want to see services consolidated, and that's their goal. And again, if that's what you want, that's not an issue, right? Then vote, come talk to your council members, say, hey, we want that. But if you go to the community and say, hey, you can save money and we're going to lower taxes and you're going to save money because we're not spending all this money, you don't do that. But in turn, you use that cap to choke the city down to consolidation, a very ineffective way to get there as well. Then I think you have a problem. If it's a means to that end, because right now, and I don't mean to ramble, but right now, capital projects isn't capped. So we can go, hey, let's build a $10 million park. Let's build a big city hall. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. None of that's capped. But the services that it would take to maintain those things is capped. We actually, the way it's set up right now, if we had a greedy, corrupt council or just an irresponsible council, we could actually get the city in a lot of trouble. My wife said not to say gentrification, but that's what it would be. We'd build these things, we'd have these things, and then we'd have no way to maintain them or service them, and to what end? So that's the way it's set up right now. It's a very ineffective, imperfect, blunt instrument that isn't even doing what the people thought it was going to do.
This is something that I'm kind of working on for some other stories, but it's about the property tax bill that's going through the state government right now. The potential to significantly reduce the amount of property tax that would be generated in cities and counties just because they would take off homesteaded properties. Does that work into the calculus of what you guys are looking at on these ballot referendums at all?
I mean, it's this looming thing, right? And I'm if that goes to a vote, I'm voting to remove property taxes. I'm not a let's tax everybody guy. Like, let's remove property taxes. I love it. Yes, that looms there, right? Because it would compound the problem. I don't think less money being spent is an issue. Let's find a way to do that. But when you have a really ineffective procedure that you have to go through to spend money, and then you also add in, hey, you're not going to have this funding, you're not going to have this funding, it does become an issue. I think we need to remove this ineffective restraint and lean on what's worked in the past, which is electing a council, having staff that go through the budget, debating and voting on what projects are going to go forward, having an independent audit that goes through the city budget annually to make sure that there's, the money's accounted for, there's not corruption. And then really it's hearing from your community. If people want a project, they need reach out. We don't drive the city forward with our own personal project. We like to hear from people. I mean, at least me, for sure. Somebody's like, you need to start bringing up some things to do on council. And I'm like, I'm not driving my own personal, things. When people talk to me and say, hey, we'd like to see this, we want to do this. We're all people. I mean, some things are brought up and I'm like, yeah, I get it. You should come and say that to council. But some things will resonate with us. And, you might see a council person say, yeah, like I would love to see that. That's a great idea. And then it's going to get brought up. That's how we do projects. That's how we move forward. But this blanket cap that doesn't actually ultimately doesn't cap the spending, that is costing the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in wasted money. I can go into that more too. And ultimately, it doesn't lower taxes. It doesn't save individuals money. It doesn't save the city money. It costs us money. I don't know why we are wasting so much time doing this. I wanted to run because I was developing a property, and my biggest struggle was dealing with the city. And I'm not here to put Fort Walton Beach down before that. I got on and I talked to those offices and those people, and they're great people, great staff. We have a great staff in Fort Walton. And they say we have to work inside this box, the LDC. We have to work inside these legal constraints. So we understand. We'd love to see that booklet of laws and rules reduced. And so that's something that our new city manager is actually has started the work to go through our LDC. Let's get rid of some of the red tape and do some of that. But that's why I ran, because I didn't like the inefficiencies of government. And I said, what can I do to help and change that? And it came from a very strong point of wanting to help small businesses, which is what I am. And now I get in and we walk into this cap. And I kind of walked into that. It was happening. So as I've learned about it, as a business person, as a human being, as a councilman, as a tax-paying resident, I'm like, this is a waste of time and money for our city. And I think we could do so much better. And I think it's going to harm our city in the long run. And the people that are against it, we thank you for your support. Come out and vote yes. The people that are for it because they know and they believe it's going to lead to consolidation, vote no. The people that are unsure and they're like, man, are we giving the government free will to spend all this money and do this? And that's not the case. There's so many checks and balances that come through. You have a council up there that genuinely cares. I take issue with some of the things said from different people, but at the end of the day, I do believe everybody cares about the city, about the residents, and we might have different opinions on the best way forward. But from the people that I've talked to, they want to see smart, calculated growth. They want to see our infrastructure fixed. They want to see beautification projects, and putting this cap on as a restraint hinders all of that progress.
Got it. And so I have a question here from Bobby Holbrook. Put this one and he said, could you go into detail about the council current pay and what's being proposed? Also, could you go into what has been said about the Chamber of Commerce CEO and what is being said?
Man, I don't have specifics on the Chamber of Commerce CEO, but this is what I'll say. So I'm not on the board, but one of the things I do on council, we sit on different boards, and I'm essentially a liaison to the Chamber of Commerce. Okay. I've sat with Ted and many other members, and that's a community of business leaders. I'm a member of the Chamber myself. The Chamber does so much for our city. And I truly mean that. If anybody takes issue with that or doesn't know what it does and wants to learn more, schedule a meeting and find out how much they lobby for the city, projects that need to get done, money that's raised. The Chamber of Commerce is such an asset to the city, and I think Ted's doing a great job. If people are saying negative things about Ted, I mean, I hear it in passing, but I don't pay a lot of attention to it. But my opinion is that our Chamber of Commerce is such a huge asset to the city of Fort Walton Beach. I hope that they continue on like that, and I hope that we can keep that relationship with the Chamber of Commerce that we have with the city. As far as the compensation, I'm going to call it out. There's somebody out there going, we have now voted to give not only did the people vote that this was going to be a volunteer out of love and care for your community job, I'll take issue with that, but that since it's voted away, we have also put it on the ballot with 2.5 times pay and unlimited healthcare benefits. Why are we deceiving people? Let's tell the truth. 2 years ago, when it was removed, what was removed was $400 a month and the city healthcare package. That's like if you were a city staff member and you had a healthcare package, that's what you got. Okay. I don't know what unlimited healthcare benefits, like we're spending more and more and more money. I don't know what that means. You have the healthcare package, just like if you were at a big company that offered insurance. Okay. And $400 a month. Massive. I know. I did the math. I made a Facebook post. This comes out for all 7 members and the mayor, comes out to about just over $150,000.
Okay.
So I don't think that the ballot question was, do you want this to be a volunteer position? It was, do you want to remove compensation? I believe that if there was a question that said, would you like to reduce compensation? That might have had a chance to make it as well. I sat with a guy the other day. He said, you're a councilman, right? I said, yeah. He was talking to me and he said, tell me about the ballot questions. Tell me what's going on. So I informed him. He said, back in November when I voted, I thought I was voting to cap the council compensation, not remove it. That's a honest to God, true story. And so I believe that it's fair for us to go, hey, what if we offer an alternative? What if we take a salary or the healthcare benefits? But because the healthcare benefits average out to a little bit higher, a little over $1,000, let's raise the salary, if you so chose to take that instead, to $1,000. So either $1,000 or the healthcare package. So this, if everybody takes the highest option, everybody takes the highest possible option, the total then would be about $124,000.
And what's the total budget for the city, roughly?
So the total budget for the city, that's a tough question. Sorry. Real quick, I'll finish it. So what the compensation package, and I know I rambled, it's being reduced about $30,000. It's not 2.5 times a raise what it was. That's a misleading notion. The total budget for the city, I think we just amended the budget, and it's somewhere around, I want to say it's somewhere right around $85 million. Okay. And so last year, I think I was talking to the city manager. He said it was $69 million. Right. So people see that and they go, well, that raise, that's more than a 3% raise. Yes. Well, did you know? And I didn't know this. I'm on council. I didn't know this. If we get a $2 million grant, that's added to the budget.
Okay.
So even though the budget says $85 million, that's not necessarily that. In fact, it's factually not what the city is spending that year. It's just what's allotted. Even grant money and free money. There's, I think we're looking at an $8 million bank loan for the Preston Hood expansion. Okay. Well, the city, the council and the TDD are paying, I believe it's roughly 60% of that, but the whole amount will go on that loan and on the budget. So an $8 million line item will be added to the budget. And any regular person, myself included, would be like, man, the budget went up $8 million. And I would think for the fiscal year 25-26, we're spending $8 million more dollars, but that is not the case. I couldn't tell you line item by line item what exactly is spent out in a year. The packet would be huge. I mean, it wouldn't be necessarily the easiest thing, but we are independently audited every year. And so that information is out there. And I encourage people to get educated, to stay on top of your city. We're not looking for unrestrained, we'll run the city, just sit back and hold on, whatever we do. Be involved, get involved, learn, question us, question your government. 100%. I believe in that. But man, don't do something that's going to constrain your city to where our options become so limited that we are slashing, that we are cutting. And then when we go to, I'm a business guy. If you want to hire good people, who wants to come and work at a place that's shrinking? Who wants to come and work at a place that's slashing and cutting? Let's grow, but let's do it. Let's do it responsibly. Let's do it, smartly is not a word. Let's do it smart.
Intelligently, maybe. I'm sitting here like, hang on. I'm like, oh gosh, what is a good word?
And it wasn't my best option.
No, it's all like, it's my job to do word. And I was sitting there quietly while you were providing like cloud cover for me, trying to figure out what the word was. So no, not at all. So thank you so much for coming on today. Is there anything else you want people to know from your perspective about this referendum that's coming up next Tuesday, about what the court has said that you know of so far? Because again, the court ruling has not officially come out yet. I have been bothering the clerk's office. I think being politely persistent would be my hope to get that court ruling. When we get it, we will put it out to you, Mid-Bay News listeners. But Councilman Merrell, anything else you want to add?
Just a final wrap up. Yes, still go out and vote. Again, we talked about nothing about the premise of the ballot questions what, from my opinion, my understanding is the issue. It's the wording. And if you aren't comfortable with something, if it says Amendment 3, 4, 5, 7, and you want to know what that is and you want to wait, then let's wait. Vote no. We can put it back out if it doesn't get struck anyways. When it comes to ballot question 1, I'm a believer that we have our own personality. And so I like our elections where people come out that are engaged in March. But that's the will of the voters. Question 5, the compensation. I just wanted to make sure people were clear. We're not giving council a raise. I walked into this without pay, and I respect that. I was willing to do that. I believe going forward, we're going to eliminate possibly some very good contenders if we don't offer some compensation. I can come up with 20 different examples on why somebody couldn't run, or they'd be paying out of pocket to run and to serve. And I just don't think that's right. I think $12,000 a year is pretty modest. And that's what we put out there. And then question 6 is to me, it's the future of our city. I know they like to say doom and gloom. What I'm telling people is we're either going to have a strong, thriving, growing city, or we're going to have a constrained city that's looking at what we can't do all the time. And that's going to lead, we're not going to attract the best and brightest in our staff positions because there's no faith in that job. There's no, growth in that job. And at the end of the day, what I want to see Fort Walton Beach do as a business owner, as someone who's invested here, who's someone that's raising his family here, I want Fort Walton Beach to thrive. I want it to grow. And I feel so very strongly with all the information that I've got, the facts that I've got, that we create a big challenge to allow that to happen if we keep this cap in place.
Awesome. Well, Councilman Merrell, thank you so much. We're excited to have you on again soon. We'll talk to you probably right after the election, or I guess the referendum vote.